It's time to dust off those podcasting boots and get back into rebooting your podcast. You're listening to the VIC Podcasters podcast, your bite-sized slice of podcasting know-how. We're here to connect Victorian podcasters. Whether you're just starting, a seasoned pro, or stuck in the one day I will phase, stop dreaming and dive in. Join our email list or hop onto our Facebook and LinkedIn groups for updates, resources, and a supportive community. Because podcasting is better when we do it together. VIC Podcasters is proudly produced on Wathaurong land. With our first series back for 2025, I wanted to touch on a subject that a lot of people have been talking about in the Facebook, LinkedIn, and in the email groups regarding how to reinvigorate or reboost your podcast. So if you are someone who's taken a break for whatever reason from your podcast or podcasting in general, and you want to get back into it, let's discuss how to actually go about this. We have a 3-part series going from ghosting to a tech and mental refresh, and finally winning back your listeners. So let's go into ghosting. Ghosting may seem harsh to say, but that's essentially what's happening when life happens, when work, family, burnout, existential dread, business, your world falls apart. Things are going to happen, and sometimes you take a break from podcasting, be it planned or unplanned. Sometimes you finish off the end of a season high, and then you end up not coming back. And even big name podcasters disappear for a bit. But taking a break does not mean failure. It's just a pause. And even if you decide to never go back to a podcast, it's also not a failure. You are allowed to pivot yourself and your podcast to wherever niche you find yourself in. You do this by checking in with yourself. Are you still excited about the podcast idea or topic, or the community that you've built around your podcast? Will you continue the way that you are now, or will you pivot? Or thinking about what's stopping you from hitting record. Is there other factors in your life that are stopping you? Because maybe those factors are still there, just maybe not in front of your face like they used to be. Let's take a break. VIC Podcasters, I'm pausing your podcasting experience to let you know that I have my own podcast, the Unboring Your Brand podcast. So if you have a personal brand, or you are a small business owner who wants to leverage their personal brand without the boring stuff, follow me on Unboring Your Brand podcast. Check out the one by the Video Confidence Coach. Bye. So you've checked in with yourself, and now it's time to actually think about reassessing your podcasting goals, because you know you want to restart the podcast again, or you probably wouldn't be this far into the episode. But in regards to reassessing your podcasting goals, are you doing your podcast for fun? Is it a marketing adventure for your small business or personal brand? Or are you using it to interact and build a community that you are already a part of? Does the old format still work for you? Is it all your files and everything still available to you? Or with you coming back to reboot your podcast, is it time for a refresh? Are there new topics, new structure, but maybe some old but better techniques that you can use over your time that you've been podcasting? Because there is no way that you are still the same person or the same skills since when you went on your break. So think about what that means for you. And most people take this opportunity to announce their comeback or rebooting the podcast, but I'm going to say not yet. Instead of going for a dramatic "we're back" episode, maybe think about batching a couple of podcasts and releasing a couple of social media teasers before you release your podcast episode again. Remind people why they're subscribed in the first place, and tease on your email list, your website, or any other places before you go big whole hog live again, to drum up some anticipation and hopefully get some downloads. And you can also take this opportunity to record a trailer, or if you're pivoting the podcast in a new direction, to record a 30-second, 60-second trailer to get people on board for both new and old listeners to refresh the way that you're now working with the podcast. So now what to do from here? Let's talk about a comeback strategy. You can write down why you took a break, and owning it and actually telling your audience why that is. You don't have to go into detail, but just letting them know you took a break and you don't intend to do it again, or maybe you do intend to do it again depending on your life circumstances. Be realistic about a start time, and also making sure that you stick to it. If you have told people and recorded a couple of batch episodes, making sure that you stick to your release schedule is going to be useful for you. and also keeping those audience members engaged. And ultimately deciding how you are going to let your listeners know about you coming back into the fold. Is it going to be a big, we've returned splash podcast and all the marketing adventures? Or is it going to be a low-key, just returning episodes again because you've found the time and energy to do so? What works for you? That's it for this week's episode. Tune in next week for more tips, updates, and the occasional pun. Good ideas buzzing? Excellent. Head to the show notes in this episode for details that you'll need to dive deeper into Victoria's podcasting community. VIC Podcasters would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the Wathaurong people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians on the land on which we work, live, and play. We pay our respects to our elders past and present. We stand with the traditional custodians in these lands in working towards a more equal future. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And hey, don't forget, podcasting is better with mates.